Today, we're chatting with Cheryl Grant in your Anglican church in the parish of North Hastings. She was one of the key leaders in a team that put together a wonderful cookbook to rave reviews for their parish. And it's a wonderful example of a community engagement initiative in terms of what connections they were able to make with the community through the process. So, Cheryl, tell us, how did this initiative come about? What was the inspiration?
You can thank, and not much you can thank COVID for, but you could probably thank COVID for this initiative, because fundraising is a part of our, a very important part of the financial health, if you will, of the parish and of the churches. So, but with COVID, it was difficult. We couldn't do any entertaining or any dinners or functions. It was very difficult because there were so many restrictions, especially early in the process. So they decided that they would do a cookbook. And there's lots of churches that have done it. And so it's not a new thing. And it's so popular that there's a lot of help on the internet working with a publisher that will make the process, even though it seemed daunting at first. Like, none of us had ever done anything like this before. We were total rookies. But we found a publishing partner, and they were tremendous in terms of stepping us through the whole process.
Wonderful. Who was the publishing partner?
The name when you go online and you want to search for a publisher, if you search for publishers, charity cookbooks, you'll see 2 or 3 come up. One in particular is from Winnipeg, and it's called Gateway. The others are from the US. All are very good companies, I'm sure, but we wanted to work with the Canadian company just because there's, issues with the money exchange, etc. So because they become the distributor, they become the shipper of the product. So we went with Gateway, and they were fantastic. They really were.
Well, this leads me to ask about the sort of the key steps in the process. So clearly that was one, finding them. How you got started, and were there things that helped or hindered along the way?
It was a real fun project for us all to work with. There was about 6 of us on the team, and we represented both churches within the parish. So there's Gateway will help you with the steps towards publishing, but essentially what it is, you decide on what the cookbook's going to be. Is it an all-around cookbook? Is it a Christmas cookie cookbook? Is it, what kind do you want to do? We did it through the ACW. So the ACW would, all the meetings, we talk about it, and we'd get some good feedback, and then we'd apply it to the production of the book. Here's the book here in the end. Hopefully you could see that.
Mm-hmm. And it's in color and glossy. Nice.
Well, we decided to not necessarily look like a church cookbook. Not that we're like right in the front of the book. First page actually is from our table to yours, it's called, and there's pictures, line drawings of the 2 churches. And the fact, we also decided at the same time that all the money raised from this cookbook would go towards food programs in our diocese. So whether that's the food bank or the morning breakfast or whatever, in the schools, whatever it was, that's what we did. Simultaneously, you have to start everything first. You get a hold of Gateway, you decide if that Gateway is the right partner. If not, you work with somebody else. So you get your partner, you announce to the congregation that we're looking for recipes, and it's from your table to ours, which is your client, ours, that we're going to sell it to. And the recipes are family favorites, preferably ones that you've kind of, maybe you started with a printed recipe, but then you touched it up or whatever. But it's very important. And just announce it. We had a process where two people were responsible for gathering these recipes together, and so that you have to do this at the same time, because gathering the recipes is a big deal. It's time, it's not time consuming, but there's so many people throwing things at you that you want to pull it all together. And the nice thing about it is we gave credit for every recipe, even if it was somebody's mother or grandmother, we put that in. And at the end of each recipe, there would be, PS from the recipe author, if you will. This was my family favorite. We had it every Christmas, all that sort of thing. And, even on the negative side, this is terribly messy to make, but worth it in the end, that sort of thing. So it became a little bit more approachable, because it is an amateur cookbook, right? It's not the real thing. We also decided that we would distribute it in September. So our cookbooks went on sale at the beginning of the Christmas buying season. That was another thing that was important to do. So so we started conversations in March. By July, week 1, all our recipes were in. And then we decided what tabs that we were going to have. So you divide your recipes by main course, appetizers, that sort of thing. You decide that on your own, that as a group. You can have it whatever way you wish. And then all of this artwork that you see here, and there's artwork throughout the whole book in terms of a different section, etc., is all provided by Gateway. They give you lots of options, and you can pick them, and they work it through, etc. And the other thing that Gateway suggested, was to sell advertising within our little town of Bancroft, and Maynooth, which is the other little town. So what we got, I'm going to talk behind it, sorry. What we got was all kinds of local vendors buying ad space, and they loved it. They really did. And what that did for us was gave us distribution of the cookbook throughout the community, and people could, even the local insurance office wanted to put it on their front desk, and they sold out in a couple of days. So it didn't matter who, they just wanted to support it. Shoppers Drug Mart bought a whole page. Other people just bought a small or a quarter page. But that was really a big thing, because they almost paid for the print costs.
That's a great insight. Wonderful. So I get, once the recipes were all in and so on, then they had to be installed on some format, I'm guessing. How did that work?
Yes, we did. There was an input, and there was 3 of us that were not familiar, but were fairly astute at the speed of entering information. Gateway has a template that you follow. It's very simple, and you enter the recipe exactly as it's given to you. And it took about, that was a very fast process. I was quite concerned that it would take a whole lot of time, but there was 4 of us actually. And from beginning to end, to enter the cookbooks took less than a week. Wow. So it was very quick, because the template made it so easy, right?
And how many recipes did you get?
That's the funny thing. We thought we didn't know. So we thought 250 recipes between the 2 churches. That was great. And in the end, we got 313 recipes. But that was good. And that was another thing, by the way. It's, when someone gives you their family recipe to put in a book, and they're quite proud of it, it's important to put it in the book. So we may have 6 recipes for chocolate brownies. You just have there's a favorite. You can go in and try it, and maybe you like this other one better. But we did not edit. I didn't have the heart, actually, because everybody got so involved in the project. If they gave you a recipe, you really did did put it in. So yeah, that helped. So we had 313 recipes. So I told Gateway that, and Gateway was absolutely aghast. I said, "What did we do wrong? Is it not enough?" She said, "No, we're lucky to get over like around 100." So, Anglican churches are famous for their food, and everyone loves to eat and commune together in the community hall, etc., and serve. There was all kinds of recipes that came from everyone out of that. So, she was delighted. 313 recipes are great. And it really justified the cost of the advertising because they knew we were going to get sufficient out. Yeah.
Fantastic. I want to ask about two other things. One is just any advice you have for other churches that might think about taking on this kind of a project, kind of the lessons learned.
Sure. First of all, if anybody wants to take a project and they want to contact me, I'm happy to have a Zoom call or a conversation,
Oh,
and
fantastic.
I can give more direct, more specific advice. I think the single biggest thing that took the most time was editing. Very important. There was 4 of us, again, doing the input and 4 of us editing as well. And Gateway edits as well. So you've got 5 people. And we still had printing errors, like whether it was little quirky things here and there in the copy that we missed. Didn't matter if 6 of you looked at it. If that happens, it just happens. But that was the most time consuming, I would say. It took us almost, by the time we got it off to Gateway works very fast. It was about 2 weeks back, and they came back with a draft, and it was all bound. You can decide on the color of your binding, and this is a picture from Gateway that we used. There was lots of others, but we chose to do kind of a healthy one in a salad. And so the editing, you have to leave enough time for editing. That was the biggest challenge.
Something you mentioned earlier kind of ties into my last question, which is about the impact on the community. And that was, you said that all the funds raised, I assume that's after you paid your expenses,
Correct.
were going to be designated to local food programs.
Correct.
How did that work out, and how much have you been able to earn so far? I guess, are you in your first printing, or what's?
We're in our second printing. We thought maybe initially at first we thought, we'll print out 50 cookbooks and see how they go, sort of thing. But in the end, with Gateway's direction and the fact that the cookbook was getting to be so large, they suggested 200. And why that big number is we just asked everybody in the ACW, how many people do you think will buy one of these as a gift at Christmas time? We were at 100 before we even left that meeting. So we were fairly comfortable that 200 was a good starting. And it's funny, getting prepared for this interview today, I look back at the time the first cookbook arrived and went on sale. And within 10 days, we decided to order 200 more. So and we decided also that it's going to be a fundraiser throughout the year. So it's not a fundraiser where you sell a lot of tickets for a silent auction, and when it's done, and you move on. This is something that goes out a lot. The getting your sponsors, we also at the local stores in town asked them if they would sell it for us, and we gave them credit for it in the book, and they was no problem. Absolutely, they were thrilled to do it. Interesting, not the local bookstore. I didn't quite understand that one, but anyway, the jewelry stores did, and the souvenir type shops, ladies shops. I mentioned the insurance company. They all took 10 to start, to see how we go. And they all repeated 2 or 3 times throughout, the first couple of months it was on sale. And what it ended up doing was really creating more of a community engagement, a community outreach. And even though we're an old parish, a church, and we've been in Bancroft for decades, it opened everyone's kind of awareness to what we do and what the importance of the book and selling and buying of the book. And by the way, the book sold for $20 a copy. Everyone felt that that was a very fair price based on the price of cookbooks out in the market, which is you have to kind of shop around and see that. And our cost for printing actually was between, depending, because the second printing was a little cheaper than the first printing, easier to do. So it was well under $8. So, you know, you're looking, and of course, it's all volunteers, there's no labor cost. So that became a real avenue of funding coming in. And we almost immediately started putting the funds out. We supported all three. We have 3 food banks in our area, and we were starting to give, you know, money out to them almost immediately. And so it turned out very, very well. It's very profitable. It's a continuous thing. We have talked about perhaps doing a second one, maybe with rather than not just food, but arts and crafts. Or we haven't gone there yet, but it was such a great process. It was so easy and relatively easy that we would definitely do it again.
Oh, fantastic. Well, and it sounds like that in terms of the proceeds going out to those programs in the community, it's between $4,000 and $5,000, which is significant.
Yeah, and it's we also took a table, or I think they gave it to us. The town of Bancroft gave us a table at their July 1st event in the park. And we did a little arts and craft project for children, but at the same time, we put the cookbooks out there because we had, I think we had about 40 or 50 left. So we thought, you know what, we'll put them out there. We sold 12 within, I don't know, half an hour. It was amazing. People, church cookbook, they know church cookbooks and they know how good they are in terms of the quality of the recipe and the testing of the recipe. So yeah, they were very generous. A lot of people gave donations as well as buying the book, and yeah, so it was a very positive experience.
Well, congratulations, and we'll look forward to hearing about the next one. And thank you for making time to chat today.
My pleasure.